Now it's time for question. Please state your name and your organization. Okay. First question.
Omar Al-Shar, TE Connectivity. I had the pleasure of seeing the transition of the industry here in the telecom industry in the UAE. I actually remember when TRA was formed, and I think when you left Etisalat to become head of TRA, the transformation was fantastic for the UAE. My question is relating to the future plans in terms of the introduction of perhaps a third operator or a mobile or a virtual third operator, and how will that impact on a very heavily penetrated market? I mean, I think we're talking about 120% in the UAE in terms of mobile penetration. Will that serve the consumers? I mean, you mentioned that the key customers for you are the consumers. It's us as users. Will a third operator do that from your perspective? Thank you.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Thank you. First of all, yes, it's been a journey over the past 10 years. The philosophy of the UAE is different than the other countries, perhaps even the region, where the other countries, they have literally liberalized the market, they opened the market for full competition and so on and so forth. Our philosophy is different. Our philosophy is to introduce competition and gradually enhance competition as we go. So back in 2005, we were very clear in our submission to the WTO, our plan for liberalization, which we set it for 2015. And this liberalization date was set with, of course, specific conditions. So liberalization does not mean just open the door and have as many operators as possible. No, it has got certain conditions as well. And the reason by doing this is the reason behind doing this is strike balance between different stakeholders. So one part is again the customer's interest from one point of view. The other one is the government, and the third, of course, the operators, and the fourth is the international obligation. So these are balances that we have to strike. Now, if you look into the UAE as a country, first of all, and we have done a price analysis for the we call them price baskets. So you cannot compare a package in UAE to a package in Saudi to a package in Egypt. No, that's wrong comparison. You need to look into price baskets, so mobile price baskets, fixed price baskets, internet price baskets. So when we have done that, we found the UAE is in the top countries in the GCC as well as in the Arab countries, and from different basket perspectives. So sometimes we are in the top, sometimes we are second, sometimes we are third, sometimes we are fourth. Now, since we started, we have licensed Du to be a second operator in the UAE. They start their operations. Today the market is very healthy. The market is almost 50-50 in terms of prepaid, slightly different in terms of postpaid. We still have Salat have higher rates than Du. But today we are capturing the fruits of the competition that has started earlier the year. Going into the future, in terms of what we need to do, we have done several studies, and now the government established a committee. This committee is going to recommend a roadmap for cabinet, on which it will put the ICT blueprint, ICT strategy for the telecom sector. And after that, we will look into whether we are going to add suppliers or not. But at this moment, we don't have intentions. And the reason why we see it is, as I told you, this balance is extremely important. We need to give appetite for the operators to invest in infrastructure, which they do. We have today the UAE between Etisalat and Du. We have the highest penetration rate in terms of mobile. Sorry, in terms of fiber to start with. In terms of mobile infrastructure, we have the 3G. I wouldn't talk about 2G, but we have almost 100% population coverage in terms of 3G and close to 90+% in terms of LTE population coverage, which hopefully will come 100% soon. So we are in the side where in terms of technology we are in the high end on the global countries in terms of scale. Also from the consumer side, we are looking at adoption rate by consumers to smartphones. On the higher sides, the UAE could entertain to be the top country globally in terms of adoption rate for smartphone devices. The government initiatives about that, and the consumers, as I told you, the price baskets are on the positive side.
We'll take another question now. Any more question? No more question? Yeah, أكيد ما راح أعمل. Okay. About third, there is no answer. About MVNO.
Well, the difference between a third operator, whether it's a facility base or a resale base, is the same. We don't consider third operator difference. There is no difference between a third operator being on a reseller designed or facility based design. It's the same. So
it's great to have you here, Your Excellency, and I think it's an opportunity for all the operators to listen from a voice outside our own tables, and with your knowledge on how the industry is evolving and the opportunities that are coming up within the industry, your message not only to the two UAE operators, but to the whole regional operator CEOs and executives, what's your message that the telecom operators need to start doing more these days?
I think the one thing for a fact that we are looking at the region, perhaps some of the operators in the region or some of the markets, the operators are still enjoying a high ARPU. This is going to slowly diminish because there are a lot of counter technologies that will make this less and less day by day. Now, one of the biggest subjects that has been discussed globally is the OTTs, and the OTTs is something that they are coming. They are deploying so many services that is delivered through networks that you guys have invested in. Now, you might invested in fiber, you might invested in 4G networks, wireless 4G networks. You might invested in so many of the Wi-Fi. And today, maybe the UAE started it, but I'm 100% sure that the rest of the countries in the region is going to follow. And that is the migration of government and private sector businesses into services that will be delivered through mobile. It's happening right now, and it's going to be more and more day by day. And within a few months, everything is going to be delivered through mobile. And you will see so many of these applications popping up. So the business model for the operators will definitely has to change in order to cater for this massive change where mobile operators will be less dependent on voice and international traffic into something which is more dependent on packages, which is the data packages. So the formula has to change, and I think this is a major shift to the operator's mindset that has to happen, or I must say that should have already been happened in order to get into and capture the part of these markets. If you get into the revenue of the OTTs globally, you will find it a stunning number. And right now, I had a visit to Apple last month. Apple, when they started, initially their major revenue was coming from the local market, the US market. Today, it's the other way around. So the majority of their revenue is coming from outside the US market. And we're talking about a big percentage, and it's of course in tens of magnitudes of billions in terms of revenue coming from international market. And this is where I think it's an opportunity for the mobile operators to shift gear, change their operating model, and do something about how they can get more revenue from a stream which they have not envisaged at all. Taking advantage of consumers and smart devices pickup. Now we are looking at a huge digitization effort which is happening by all parties. I'm talking about government or even business sector. Now we are looking at government transforming its services to be smart through either tablets or smart devices, in the education field, in the health, and tourism, and banking, and all these, and all aspects of our lives. At the same time, we are looking at initiatives which is happening by the private sector to further enhance and digitize the country on which there are a lot of opportunities. So this is my message. We are still debating this issue globally. The OTT versus telcos. I think this can be. I'm sure that this is a favorite subject to so many of you. Wicked last year was a good example on which there was very clearly a debate, and this is a global debate between telcos, which is trying to basically send a message to the global community by saying we are the one who invested in infrastructure, and we are losing a lot of revenue because of these OTTs. And the OTTs say we don't care about that. We want to stick to the revenue stream which is coming to us without to have an investment in the infrastructure. So,
as you're active member of ITU, there was a committee just to limit the role of OTT player, and it was supported by the TRA in UAE, especially last quarter last year. So where we are from this committee, and the ITU will put the limit for the role of OTT.
Well, the ITU cannot limit anything without a treaty conference. So, and the next WICID or the next plenipotentiary conference is going to happen in Busan in Korea next year, towards the end of next year. But that's going to look into, that is more of a political conference than what is like in WICID. I think we are looking forward for the next WICID, which we are still going to debate next year. But that's not going to, I mean, this committee is going to start, but I doubt that it will reach anywhere unless there is another treaty conference.
Okay, but you don't expect any treaty soon regarding the OTT?
I think within the next 4 years. I think 4 years. It will happen.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions? Yes, please.
Yes. Mohammed, we recently heard in the press, basically, that Google is having this Project Loon, which is balloons that they fly over the air to provide basically mobile coverage, to provide connectivity. And we know that Google have invested as well in fiber infrastructure in some of the states in North America. We as well heard that Apple might have as well similar moves in that direction. So from a regulatory point of view, this means that those OTTs are jumping into the infrastructure business. And this is basically, it's a threat, I think, to the entire industries and specifically the service providers, the telecom operators. Because if this is being accepted from the international and from the governments that Google will jump into infrastructure business, that means telcos will be out of business in a few years. What's your views from a regulatory point of view?
I think we need to look into the U.S. market as a separate market, because it's a very, very interesting market, and where those OTTs came and lived and flourished and survived is basically through the Telecom Act, in which they defined a lot of the internet services as a value-added services that does not require licenses. This is shifting. This is changing. So whether Google or Apple or whoever is trying to purchase and acquire infrastructure, and I'm talking about back again to this region. Most of this region is regulatory, heavily regulated, and it's driven by regulations. And I don't think that whether it's using balloons, which or other means, it requires licensing to get into the entry of the market. Now, I'm going to speak about UAE because I think it's important to speak about the UAE. The UAE limit, as per the law, any entity, any person, and with a capital P, who wanted to deliver services to the public must have a license. So whether this person is a company which operates infrastructure based like what we have licensed with Salat to do, or Yasat or Thuraya or so on, or it's an internet company, it's the same. A lot of people talk to us about Skype. Skype is delivering services to the public. So again, this is the same. But it is very interesting that to see one fact, and that those companies are acquiring infrastructure not only in the US but globally. And they are now in the process of acquiring a much more infrastructure that surrounds internet, so internet switches globally again. And we have seen the power of OTTs during Wicked. So it gives you an indication. If you have attended Wicked, you will see the power of those OTTs in the global lobby. So there was a huge global lobby against telcos during Wicked. And that was very clearly shown during the proceedings of the conference, the 2 weeks conference. So down the road of what we are seeing and the speed that they are moving, I had the chance to visit those companies as I told you last month, and the innovation that they're making and the speed they are moving ahead, and I will say it without is way faster than the telcos in the region. So, and this is something that the telcos of the region has to take into their considerations. And again, I'm gonna put the word between two brackets, innovation. And the innovation that I'm talking about is here solutions that's going to help individuals, companies, or governments in order to do their business or to enhance their lives in a much better way. And again, as I answered in my previous the previous question, is we are getting into a huge digitization phase. And I'm talking about virtualization of the entire country. This is actually happening by these big companies. And it is time for the telcos in the region. And we have started a very nice project, the Smart Government Project, which is going to be a partnership between the government and private sector, which is led by the telcos here in the UAE. And I hope that this is going to be the seeds in which we can work on a much bigger projects down the road.
Thank you. Now we'll take the last question from Anil. Please, Anil.
Hello. My name is Anil. I'm from Nuance Communications. Overall, worldwide, you see the NPS scores of the telecom industry being relatively much lower than that of other industries across the board. If you look at auto dealers, it's about 38. If you talk about airlines, it's about 23. Telcos are in the range of about 5.
Please repeat the question.
The NPS scores, or the Net Promoter Scores of customer confidence or customer satisfaction, in telcos seem to be generally lower than other industries. Take it as airlines, couriers, hotels, auto dealers, etc. Obviously, the telcos have a disruptive phase which it could go through to increase that score. And obviously, the customer is right in the middle of everything we do. What, as a telecom regulatory authority, can we do to increase the customer experience factor quotient in dealing with our telcos locally?
First of all, we conduct on a yearly basis surveys to measure the customer satisfaction in the UAE. And we go individually into internet, fixed, and mobile. And just to let you know that the samples that we take is big enough to represent the country with its the demographic and with the nationalities. And the number of the percentages that we get until now is very, very, very pleasing. So the customers in the UAE, they have a very, very high, we have a very, very high satisfaction rate, and the numbers are published in the TRA website. Given that, we are working very hard all the time, and despite the fact that we have 2 operators working in the country, and both of them, they have a full service license, we as hard as we can try to fuel competition in order for the telcos to focus more on enhancing their services, giving the customers their best, and giving their customers the best packages that can be done. And as I told you, the result as well from the analysis that we had in terms of the price basket as well was very, very encouraging, despite the fact that we have the fact that we have 2 operators, and this model has been completely different than any model that has been adopted by any country in the region or even globally. But we have regulatory enablers that we use in order to fuel competition. I gave the example of mobile number portability. Bitstream is coming the way. When we have the opening of ducts, fibers, dark fiber, and so on and so forth, there are a lot of other, there are a lot of future enablers that we use as a regulator in order to enhance competition.
Are there any KPIs that you would actually put in place across the board for us to be at an above average level? Is that something you would think about doing?
Okay. We are, as a high level KPI, we are, as you know, H.E Mohamed wanted in cross sectors, the Prime Minister wanted to have an indicators which will increase our competitiveness globally. Now, if you look into all the indices that we have and we follow, Network Readiness Index, we are the rank of, I think, 23 or 24 globally. And other sub indicators, we are in the top 10 numbers. There are so many ranks, but the major ones, the NRI, we are in a good shape, and a lot of sub indicators, we are in the top even 10. But we are working with the Prime Minister, and we will announce it soon on the major KPI that will drive the UAE ranks into hopefully #1 in the next couple of years. And as again, we are a regulator, we are enablers. We put enabling tools, and we let the market react. So we do not manage the market. So we have to be also careful in a way that we put the enablers, we let the market react, and keeping it healthy so that the telcos or the licensees still have the appetite and continues to have the appetite to have revenue and have investment in the infrastructure, because a lot of countries had a wrong formula. So they basically license operators, they took so much money initially from the telcos, and they left them with nothing in order for them to operate, and they go into price wars, and they don't invest in the infrastructure at the end of the day, the customers will have a very short price advantage. And then at a later stage, the customer will have a huge disadvantage in terms of technology adoption. Today in the UAE, we have the best technologies that you can find anywhere globally, which made the country so attractive for businesses to come. Now we have to work on other enablers in order to enhance competitions, to get more into better packages to the customer. And this is our duty to do.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Ghanim.